Hello, everyone, and welcome to Migrant Munch. My name is Dr. Sharika Senamiratna, and I'll be your host on this podcast. Let's dive into today's story. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Migrant Munch. Today we've got Josh Lincoln, who has just recently become a first-time dad. So firstly, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's all good.
Josh Lincoln is probably the most deceptive Indian name. You look at my name on paper and not see my skin tone, you probably think I'm white. As white as you can get, but yeah, I'm pretty brown.
Well, let's start with your name then, because that was an interesting point where you raised that you were like,
Yep.
Josh Lincoln's not the typical person that you think
Yes.
you'd meet when you see it on paper. So
Correct.
let's start there.
Cool. So I am Christian, so hence why a very Christian white name. My dad was one of four kids. And he was born and raised in the south of India. So I'm originally South Indian, from a little state called Kerala, which is on the bottommost tip of India. And he grew up in a Christian home, and his parents wanted him to be a priest once he grew up. And there was a priest in town by the name of Lincoln. So they changed his name, his last name, to be Lincoln. So that's how he ended up with the last name Lincoln. His maiden name, or his previous name, was Verghese. Verghese is an abbreviation for George, which is also kind of like a, I guess, English name if you think about George. But yeah, his name was Thomas Verghese. Then they changed it to Thomas Verghese Lincoln, and yeah, that's how the name Lincoln came about. And I got lucky with my name, actually, by getting Joshua as my name, because my brother got stitched up. His name is Linu, because my parents thought they could be cool by mixing Lincoln, and my mom's name is Usha, so they thought they could mix the two and call him Linu. But I didn't think that landed that well. But anyway, he's happy, they're happy, and I'm glad they didn't take any risks with my name. Imagine having a name that's hard to pronounce once you move to a country like Australia.
Oh my God, yes.
So I got really lucky. But I do have a very Indian middle name. My middle name is Ranjit. So yeah, so very Indian there. But yeah, that's a little bit of a spiel about my name.
Cool. And it's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about like names recently as well, because like I've got such a random name. I'd probably say it doesn't really mean anything, I don't think. I know Cherie means expensive. In like French or whatever, or darling.
I should probably ask your husband if you're an expensive person.
Oh, he'd probably have a lot to say about that for sure. Yeah, he'll definitely have a lot to say about that.
That's
but
funny.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes.
So okay, back to you
Yes.
before we deviate into me and my name. Tell us about your journey to like coming to Australia. What was that like for you?
Yeah, definitely. So my dad, he was a pastor. So I grew up very conservative in the Christian community. But he did a course in Queensland ages ago before he got married. So he had a lot of friends in Australia. And my mum also, funny enough, had a lot of friends in Australia, because her siblings did a lot of traveling to Australia, and she did a trip before she got married to Australia. So we had that connection to Australia early on. So I was only 4 years old when we first visited Australia. So Australia had a really fond place in my heart, I guess. And I knew early on, even when I was young, I knew my earliest memories that I wanted to probably go abroad and live abroad and do whatever. And so that was definitely a seed that was in me. And we would fly down almost every summer growing up. We would come to Australia. So I really loved the idea of moving to Australia. So I knew that once I finished my, uni, not uni, I would have loved to come down when I was in, straight out of school or something, or do schooling here. But obviously we didn't grow up wealthy or anything. So that was definitely not an option. So I thought, I'll finish my bachelor's and then probably move down to Australia to do my master's. But then, obviously, life has a way of throwing a span in the works of things. And when I was only 15, so straight out of high school, my dad unfortunately passed away.
I'm
And
sorry to hear that.
but yeah, that was sudden. And when that happened, obviously, my mum went into this whole depression, and my older brother was just going to do his masters, so I had to stay with mum when he was doing his masters. So then I just ended up staying back in Pune, where I was living at the time, and where my family live. Um, and I just went to, did my year 11, year 12, and then continued on to do my bachelor's there. And then I worked as a forensic analyst with KPMG for about a year, and I hated it. It was long hours. Uh, but then, you're working for one of the big fours. It's great. So I continued working for a year. And then my mum took over what my dad started. So she was heading the NGO and the church and everything. So she said, why don't you just work for us, and help out with the accounts and help out with, all the outreach programs that they had. And I said, cool, I'll do that. So I did that while I was prepping for my master's. So initially, I thought I'll move to the States, to Philadelphia, to do my MBA. That was a plan, because growing up in India, and probably similar in Sri Lanka as well, where we have a lot of American TV. So you have that
Mm,
nostalgia with the US. So I really wanted to go to the US, but then if I had to move to the US, do that, getting a job would be probably much harder, and then even
yeah.
staying back would be much harder. So I just decided, you know what, I'll just stick to Australia. And then, yeah, decided to go to Sydney because we didn't have any family friends in Sydney. So I wanted to be as far away from people I knew. So ended up in Sydney, and that's when a reality hit me that life is so hard. Because growing up in India, as much as people think that, it's a third world country, it's hard, but then when you grow up in your bubble, whether it's Sri Lanka, India, Southeast Asia, whatever, you end up having your community. You have
Mm,
you have all the comforts that you need. I never really washed my own laundry. Never did laundry. I never
yeah.
did, there were people who did that for you. Your mom did it for you, or someone else did it for you. You grew up pretty entitled, and then when I moved to Sydney, I was in a share house, in a three-bedroom share house with one bathroom,
Oh my
and
goodness.
for the first time in my life, I was like, how does this work? Like, how do you time it? All these little things that you usually never thought about started becoming a thing. And again, then you go through that whole journey of getting a job. So my first job was a kitchen hand,
Mm.
and I was washing dishes for cash, $10 an hour, because
Wow.
that's all I could
Okay.
that's all I could get at the time. And then I realized that wasn't enough, so I needed to do another job. So at one point, I was doing three jobs along with uni, and my life was just go to uni, work, go to uni, work, sleep. That's it. And obviously, because I was an international student, you're paying double in terms of your fees. I didn't have HEX or anything, so I had to get student loans from India, and I was paying 14.9% interest on these student loans. So I was just working as hard as I could to pay the interest, so that at the end of 2 years, at the end of my uni, I would still have just the principal amount, which was, I think it was 150 grand or something for my master's
Oh my
degree.
goodness.
As an Indian, when you're washing dishes, you're like, why did I do this? Like, I had everything was fine back home, and every day was like an emotional roller coaster, because you have a lot to do at uni, and there are a lot of kids at uni who have HEX, and they
Mm.
don't need to worry about, and they're just at parties, and or doing, not that I wanted to party or anything, but they're just having fun. Whereas for me, it was just doing assignments or working. So I felt like I lost my, I guess, uni life,
Mm.
just studying and working as hard as I could. But looking back, I think it really taught me a lot of good lessons. Looking back, it made me a stronger person. I got really disciplined because of that. life stage. I couldn't really mess around because if I
Yeah.
failed any of my subjects, I had to pay an additional $4,500 or whatever to redo the exam. And I'm like, I can't afford that.
100%. And I can relate to, I think, all of what you said because I was like, oh my goodness. At the end of the day, international students go through so much,
Mm,
especially silent struggles. We don't really talk
yes.
about these things.
Yeah.
But listening to you now, I'm like, wow, I went through that. I can probably name so many other people who are going through that right
Yeah.
now.
It's that a whole thing of going back a few steps in order to move forward.
Yeah.
Because after moving here, I had to start, like, once I got done with my MBA, I was overqualified to get an entry level job. I
Okay.
didn't have enough work experience in a senior position to get the role that I could have possibly gotten.
Yeah.
2 years after I finished my master's, I was just working at the supermarket at Coles, stacking shelves. I was just doing that, and that was really hard as well because I'm I'm this guy here. I have an MBA. I'm spent so much money, moved countries to do this, and I would just get rejection email after rejection email every morning. I would, because I would just apply to any job I possibly
Anything.
could.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing is how I got my first break. And this is a cool story, actually. I
Yeah.
was working at Coles, right? And there was this one manager who was Chinese, and he probably had a similar story to me. But then he was already, I think, a permanent resident by then. For some reason, he was really kind, and he saw that I was working hard, so he would always like chat to me. One day he just stopped working at Coles, kept in touch with me, and he was saying that he works for as an admin at this construction company. It was about 3 or 4 months since he had left his job at Coles. I was still working there, and he sent me a text out of the blue to call him. So I called him, and he was like, "Hey, my company's doing interviews tomorrow at 3 p.m. Wear the best outfit you can. Come in, rock up. The interview started at 5, but you come in at 3. Ask for so and so. They might say you're not on the list, but then just say that, oh, I am on the list, and just pretend and see if it works." He said, "No promise
Okay.
it might work." I said, "Are you sure, man? Like, this is so dodgy. I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna do this." He said, "See, just do it. If you want to break, this might be your only chance." And I said, "All right, fine." So I didn't even drive back then because I didn't have a car. And this place, if I had to get to this place, it would have taken me like 2 hours by public transport because I have to go the other way in a train to catch, or other way in a bus to catch a train to this place. So I asked my friend who worked at Coles with me, and his name is Michael, and he was like, "All right, I'll drive you. We'll do it." I rock up. I forgot the person whose name I had to ask for, but the lady at reception was kind of figured out who I was asking for. Called him out, and he was like, "Oh, interviews are only at 5. I said, "I'm here already. I have to be somewhere later. So can you just do an interview now?" And and he was like, "Okay, cool. Let's just do it." And we go up to the room. I had no sense of respect for myself at this point. I had nothing to lose. I have got hundreds of rejection emails.
Yeah.
I've got so many no's that I don't really care. So I was very unfiltered. So he asked me a few questions, and he said, "Hey, why should I hire you?" This is a standard question everyone asks. And I was like, "If you want an honest answer, the only reason you should hire me is because I have $150,000 in student loans. I work at Coles, I stack shelves, and if you give me a chance, I'll give you everything I have to do whatever you need me to do. All right. Otherwise, I'll just be back at stacking shelves for the next 2 months. Then I'll be kicked out of the country. I'll have to go back or whatever." So I was at that point. And when he heard that, he looked over to his assistant manager, who was also in the interview panel, and he said, "Go down and just tell them that we've hired the person." So,
Wow.
and they hired me.
Oh my
They hired
God.
me,
Okay.
and I was like, I couldn't believe it when he said that he hired me. I was like, "What?" Seriously, in my head, I was trying to like not scream for joy. I was just like completely lost as to what I needed to do. Anyway, so they hired me. So I would go every day very early, dress well, go to this job and work every single day. And one other person, another project manager, kept noticing me. He was like, "Hey, would you want to work for me? I
Right.
know your project is coming to an end. I'll give you a permanent position. You can come work for me." And yeah, I worked there for 2 and a bit years, I think almost 3 years. I
Hmm.
worked there. And then I got called from Tasmania, from this
Nice.
company. By then I was already married, and then my wife Gabby actually lived in Tassie for a few years. She did her high school and uni here, so there was that familiarity. And during COVID, because we couldn't travel a lot, we did come to Tassie. I always knew that if there was an opportunity, I would love to, move down. And this opportunity came up, and here I am. And that's
And
how
the
I came
stars
to Tassie.
aligned.
Yeah, it just did. It just did. Yeah, it was
That's
amazing.
insane.
Mm.
Yeah. So how did you meet
And
Gabby? Let's backtrack a little bit.
such a cliche sort of story. We met at church, so
Oh.
Gabby, just before I got that interview, that random interview,
Hmm.
I had gone to a connect group where actually met Gabby for the first time. She had randomly come to that connect group as well, and we were going around talking about, what can you pray, what can we pray for, and I was just again blurted out, I have a few months left, I'm leaving. And Gabby told her friend, "Oh, we're never going to see him again. He's probably going gonna leave because his life is pretty much a mess at the moment because he doesn't really have much going for him." So she didn't see me for 2 years after that,
Mm.
almost,
Okay.
or a year or something, because I used to just I still went to church, but I would just sit at the back and leave straight away. A year later, she saw me up front singing, and that's when she realized I was around the whole time. And then we happened to be in similar friend circles, so
Okay.
we would, and then we had a lot of mutual friends, and we were friends for a really long time. And then we realized we were hanging out one on one a lot, and that's when we realized we did have feelings for each other. So
Oh.
yeah, so that's how Gabby and I met, and between when we started dating and when we got engaged, it was only about 6 or 7 months. So it happened really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
Wow.
good.
And so where's Gabby from then?
Gabby is originally from Perth. She's seventh generation West Australian. So her nana and pop are probably sad that our daughter is the first Tasmanian born baby. If she was born in Perth, then she would have been eighth generation. Yeah, West
Wow.
Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what about
yeah.
like the differences in culture then? Has that ever been
Oh, big
like
can
a
of worms. Obviously, I mean, I think we briefly touched on this in our preliminary conversation, right? Like marriage in itself, with two individuals that are so different coming together. So
Mhm.
you start living with the person, and you realize, oh, there are certain quirks about me that she might not like, or her that I might not like. And then you add the whole cultural difference to it. It just it just exaggerates, the nuances to a whole nother level. So yeah, we've definitely had our struggles with that, but
Mhm.
then it's also realizing that, ultimately, if your core values align, that's the most important thing. And if you have the core values, and you have an end goal that you want to achieve, whatever it may be, like having a happy family, having, being good parents to your kids, or being a better husband every day or better wife every day. I mean, that's the best you can do, right? So
That's true.
yeah. And ultimately everything else is just, yeah, you don't really think about it. Like, I don't think about the small things on a
Mm.
daily, so why should I worry about it? It's the big
Yeah,
things that matter. Mm.
for sure. It's been amazing to hear the journey that you took and how many things you faced and how you kind of
Mm.
persevered through that. So I guess my question to you is what kept you going? Like there was so much that you went through. What
Yeah, that's
kept
a
you
good
going?
question. I tend to ask myself that question even today. What is keeping me going? Like, why am I doing this? But I think for me, it's more not giving up. Most people from third world countries have that drive in them when they leave behind their old life and they move to a new place. Going back almost feels like a defeat,
Yeah, true.
in a way. And it's not really a defeat. Like, I would happily move back, and I was mentally prepared to, because I knew I had a few months left on my visa. I mean, nothing really seemed to be aligning in terms of work, and I knew that was what was destined for me, and I was going to go back. But I think it's all about just pushing till the end and seeing if something works. It might be that, and also just my personality. I think I just, even to this day, I constantly feel like I should be doing better. I should be doing more. Maybe it's not a good thing, because Gabby keeps telling me you need to just relax and be present, and I'm trying to be more present in the moment. And that's probably a shift for me as well after having my daughter. It's just trying to be as present as I can with her, because every moment with her is, we're never getting it back. It's always
That's true.
a first time with her. And it's good to have conversations like this so that it reminds you of how far you've come, because you tend to forget the stuff you had to go through. And it's only when you stop and pause that you realize, oh yeah, there's a fair bit that I've been through to get here.
Looking back now, is there anything that you would change?
Oh man, there is a lot I would, and there's also a lot I wouldn't. But then that you're experiencing a part of life from the lens of you now. Because again, everything you do leads to the thing that resulted in you being you now, if that makes sense.
100%.
So, because I feel like if I did anything differently, I wouldn't experience or know the things that I know now. I wouldn't really change anything that's happened, because it's gotten me to where I am now.
Any final pieces of advice, I guess, for people who are at those early stages of what you went through many years ago?
Yep. I think one piece of advice is don't take life as seriously as you're taking it in that very moment. I remember when I would be stacking shelves and I see another Indian walk past, I would constantly think to myself, oh my God, he's probably judging me for being in this job. Not that the job was bad or anything, because growing up in Sri Lanka or India or even any Asian country, it's kind of retail or any sort of job like this is looked down upon. That's a bit of that unlearning that you need to do coming into Australia or the US or wherever you go. So I think don't take life too seriously. I mean, just live in the moment. If you have to be washing dishes, it's just a season. I think one of the biggest things I tell myself is, if you're complaining about your situation, don't complain if you're not doing anything to fix it.
Very true.
If you're working on changing your situation, it will change eventually. But if you're just complacent and you're just complaining and you're not doing anything to change your situation, then I guess you need to be in that situation.
Yeah,
You
like
just
you're
have
not
to be
doing
there.
anything about it. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's
100.
my piece of advice. So I guess, yeah, just don't fret take life's too short. Don't take it too seriously, but live your life and
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah. And
And
I think
trust the
going back
process.
to, oh, for sure. I think going back to what you said before as well, like whatever you're going through now is what will make you who you are in the future. So if you're working, you're
100%.
washing dishes or you're stacking shelves, all that is teaching you something that's going to make you
100%.
a certain kind of human being in the future.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Thanks, Josh. Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
you
much,
taking
Erica.
time and enjoy
Thank
time
you.
with the little baby as well.
I will.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Migrant Munch. If you really liked what you heard today, reach out to us, get in touch. Tell us what really inspired you, and we'd love to connect with you and hear more about your story.